Hi guys, today we're joined by Anthony Morrocco, the founder of Morrocco Method. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the products, they're all natural holistic hair care. They are literally what saved my hair. So Anthony, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm always really happy to be on anyone's program, especially yours. I'm really impressed by the work that you're doing, and we really want to educate people more on not only their physical health, but we have to get into their emotional, we have to get into their psychic, and we have to get into like realizing that hair is really not dead, that it's alive, and we really want it to be healthy because it really has a lot to do with the health of ourselves and physically keeping us energized.
Exactly. So I'm going to share a little bit about my hair care story and how I got into Morrocco Method. But about a year and a half ago, I was experiencing really severe breakage. I've always had pretty decent hair and hair growth, but just for some reason on the right side of my head, the hair was breaking off in chunks. So my hair on this side was going up toward my collarbone, and on the left side, it was going down toward my waist. And it was really embarrassing, and I couldn't figure out why it was happening because I was using what I thought was organic shampoo and conditioner, and I thought I was doing everything right. So with a little research, I realized that it wasn't organic, that it actually had some toxic carcinogenic ingredients, and that's how I was introduced to Morrocco Method. So I was originally told by a hairstylist I had to cut my hair up to my ears and start growing it out from there. As you can see, I have not done that, and just started rebuilding the health of my hair using Morrocco Method products. So yes, it was amazing. And so I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit more about how you got started with holistic hair care and about what sets your products apart.
Yeah, I'm really glad what you said about yourself, and we'll get back to that. Like, hairdressers really don't understand natural hair. They're, unfortunately, the hair industry is programmed, first of all, to sell product. And any way they can, anyhow they can. And that's how I started. It was 1964 and 1965 in New York City when I first got involved with Kenneth, which was the biggest salon in the world. And we had 160 people working at the salon. So it was like 5 stories. It was the biggest and most famous salon in the world. And we had notoriety coming in from everywhere. And I was working on the very rich and the super famous. And when they would come in, we would actually make an individual shampoo for Jackie Kennedy or Lauren Bacall or Mia Farrow, or a conditioner for Mrs. William Astor or Mrs. Vincent Astor or Mrs. Paley, or Norman Rockwell, Mrs. Norman Rockwell. So I started becoming aware right in the very beginning that what's sold on the market is very commercial. I don't care how much it costs or if it's on Fifth Avenue, it's still the same junk. The ingredients that are inside of it are still the same. They're very dangerous. But the packaging is what everyone's paying for, and of course to getting it on the market. So that got me started. When I started becoming more aware of what was happening, the same as with your hair, when all your hair started breaking, and then you go to the hairdresser and they say cut it off, right up to your ears or something. That's really shocking. And
it was, yeah.
Yeah, so you go to a professional and you expect them to, really take care of you. And, I'm not a dentist, so I go to the dentist and say, how do we deal with this? Or I go to an expert and say, what's happening with my car? And so when I go to a hairdresser, basically I want to get professional advice correctly. I don't want to just say, oh, just do this and that, and then I find out later on that I've had, all my teeth pulled out, which didn't have to happen.
Yeah,
my hair chopped off, which doesn't have to happen. So how do we get educated and how do you become aware? Well, first of all, we're in an age where we have the social media going on with all these platforms, and so Google is phenomenal. A lot of people say, I Google for natural hair care products, but, up comes 10, and I find out that all 10 of them have, carcinogenic ingredients in it. Who do I trust? So transparency is really important. So we're allowed to call anyone up and ask them direct questions. We call up a hair care company, and, we want to know every ingredient in there and exactly what they do. Organic no longer has any weight. Unfortunately, the government has taken the word and just made it into a situation where you have to get certified. And that's all they really care about, is to be certified. But if you see organic ingredients, they can be made in the laboratory. Monsanto is the one that we should be looking at. It's happening
Yes.
to our food. I mean, at every level, it's really shocking what is being allowed to happen. And America has endorsed Monsanto, and they're allowing them to do GMO here in the United States. Europe has stopped it. And
Hmm.
even China won't allow it. And
Yeah,
I'm,
Russia, all these countries have banned GMOs, and I mean, I'm hoping at some point we'll follow suit. But and a lot of times those genetically modified products, like corn and hydrolyzed soy protein, that stuff ends up in hair care products.
yes, a lot. So that's why I'm saying from the very get-go, from the top beginning, is that the transparency on Google with all the platforms is what we have going for us. Because I'm 71, I've been in this industry 50 years. And so the last 5 years has been phenomenal with the word transparency. Because if someone lies, they'll get really torn to shreds
Hmm.
on international platforms. So people now have the right to really, like, we have forums, we have all different kind of educational sites, and people really need not to just take it for granted any longer that's organic. No, do your homework. Find out what you're eating. Find out what you're using for skin care, what you're using for hair care, what's happening with your dental care. All of these things, and go on sites that you trust, and then let people know where to go and how to do it. Because if we do it one by one, we don't have the time to do this. But if we get into a mass and we basically discover areas what we trust, and that's why I'm really happy to work with you in our affiliates, because you have so many people that trust you. And by you bringing in top speakers and educators who you trust, that your people can save themselves all this time of trying to figure out what's real and what's not real.
Exactly. And that's so important to me. Transparency is crucial. And what I don't understand is, these companies, these shampoo and hair care products, how are they, allowed to call themselves organic or all natural? Are these, things that are even enforced? Is anyone paying attention to the actual ingredients that are going into these products?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you're bringing it up, because in the very beginning, and back in the 60s, I found out that there was no labeling laws in the 1940s. I'm not sure of the date, but as late as 1940s, and they removed all the labeling laws from cosmetics. So what does that mean? It means that when they say things, like they say this is a natural ingredient, or this is an organic ingredient, and then you find out that aloe vera is made in the laboratory. How
Hmm.
natural is that? I mean, natural means it's a plant growing in the ground without chemicals, and we take that plant and we basically do a natural system to it to get into the bottle so that it goes onto your hair care ingredient list. And you use the aloe vera from the plant, not from made in the laboratory, and that's something Monsanto's fooling around with.
Right.
So no, there are no really strict guidelines. Food's stricter, but
That's.
we can see what's happening with the stuff coming in from China. It's killing our
Mhm.
animals. Dogs and cats have died from this. So where's the guidelines? Where's our protection? So again, bottom line, I'm saying we need to unite. We need to be around people that we trust, and we need to basically go into transparency. So if someone's not real, or it's not really reality, that all of us need to know that. So we did a big thing on organic. I took organic off of all my website, all my bottles, all my packaging. I removed the word organic to prove to people that it's not real.
Wow. I mean, that's shocking because I think so many people, especially when they are trying to live healthier lifestyles and use more non-toxic products, they look for the organic label, and it's really starting to lose its meaning, which is
It has
unfortunate.
lost its meaning.
Yeah.
Organic really has 100% not. They started with using the word natural, and so that doesn't
Hmm.
exist anymore. Then they find words that are audiences like and use,
Yeah,
and then they
it's
take them and they
marketing.
turn them into, like, They come and study us being natural, being people who really are truly natural, and they find out what words we use. They go and they create this whole propaganda scheme, and they start sticking the words on their commercial stores and on their commercial packaging.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, just a marketing ploy at this point. And I really appreciate that Morocco Method doesn't, use that and doesn't fall into that and is so transparent with your ingredients. But I wanted to know more about why you're so focused on these natural ingredients. What brought you to this and this realization that, the toxic products, they're carcinogenic, they're unhealthy, they can really cause damage. So I wanted to get more of a grasp on why Morocco Method is so focused on these healthy ingredients.
Well, back in the 60s, when I started again working at Kenneth's on the super rich and famous and realizing how toxic these ingredients were, my goal was to get as natural as possible. So I went and studied in Europe for 2.5 years, botany and wild crafted ingredients. And coming back to the United States, continuing on with making my own hair care line. And people say, well, why don't you make a skincare line? Why don't you do toothpaste? I say, look, if you do one thing good, then that's enough. You can't thin yourself out. So my concern is I get emails every day, and I've been getting emails for the last 35 years from folks telling me how we saved their lives, how we saved their families, how they've had these horrible diseases, and just in hair care alone, how they've increased and got into the wellness industry. And now, one step at a time, we educate people on not only just hair care, but what are you doing for skin care? What are you doing for toothpaste? What are you doing for dental? So my interest is really 100% to educate folks, and I've been doing that for the last 35 years in a very serious manner, of just what our health represents. I've been teaching Qigong for the last 15 years, and I've been doing Qigong, which is like a high form of Tai Chi, which teaches a person how to heal oneself. So it's not only hair care, it's not only food, it's not only detoxing, and it's not only exercise, it's that there's a holistic way of life. And someone has to be able to take a baby step forward and then continue that and get healthier and healthier. And the healthier one becomes, then we're an example of everybody around us, and they say, my God, Anthony, you're 71, look at you. You're so healthy, your energy levels are very high. I say, yeah, because it's discipline, it's habits. You can have bad habits or good habits. So just create the habits that are going to be healthy and make you happy. Happiness is the key to life. If you're not happy, then I don't care how healthy you are, there's a big obstacle happening. So everything has to be in balance.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the things I like to focus on, because I don't think, you can just focus on hair or skin or diet or exercise. It has to be the whole. That's what I do with holistic nutrition, and that's why you have the holistic hair care line. But it's so important to focus on all these different dimensions to create actual lasting health. But for people that, aren't really familiar with this or just getting into natural hair care products or things like that, what would you recommend for them? I know the Zen Detox is amazing. Would you recommend they start out with that, or what would you say to people who are just getting started with Morocco Method?
Well, first of all, everyone shampoos their hair, and then we have a segment now of people who do no poo, no shampoo at all. And a lot of these people are finding out that doesn't work either, because the scalp is the crown chakra, the brain cells are up there, our thinking process is up there. There's a lot going on. So you really want to be careful of what you're putting on your face and then into your scalp. So what you start with is obviously, let's say, whatever you're using, let's just get a shampoo. I suggest 5 shampoos. I do the 5 elements: fire, air, earth, water, ether, because we have 5 fingers, 5 toes, and everything in the universe, and complete, complementing man and womankind is the number 5. And so our body's proving that 5 toes and 5 fingers and 5 senses are here for a reason. So Morocco Method does everything in 5 elements: fire, air, earth, water, ether. If that's too much, then just get a shampoo or get 2 shampoos. You really want to alternate one and the other. So if you have dry hair, if you have oily scalp, if you have damaged hair. On our website, you'll find all these different packages. We have lengthening, strengthening, thickening. We have different packages, and we have an enormous educational site for people to go on MorroccoMethod.com.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're asking is to start with, for God's sake, it's like going to yoga or starting, an exercise program. Just walk for 30 minutes. Just pick up a natural shampoo. Try it. People, like, after one shampoo, everyone says they see an enormous difference.
Yeah, I did. And I remember actually that when I was trying to find different shampoos and find out why my hair was breaking off, I tried the no poo method. And so I was, instead of shampoo, using the baking soda and then rinsing with apple cider vinegar. And that really didn't work for me. My ends were drier, my roots were really greasy, and within my first time, or my first round of using, I think it was the pine shale shampoo, it was just like, I mean, the difference was amazing. And and they don't lather, which is another interesting fact. So I was hesitant to how it would work, but my hair felt so much cleaner, and my ends were, not as wiry. They were actually straight. And this is just from one wash. So it was quite the transformation just after one time.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing this up, because what happened with the lather was in 1947 or 1940-something that they invented sodium lauryl sulfate. They, the scientists, because they needed to degrease the engines and the factories that were making war products. So during World War II, the factories had shifted over to war, and they were making all kind of war type of products. And then the grease was phenomenal. So they invented sodium lauryl sulfate, what they found was the only thing, it was sulfuric acid that cut through this oil, and they could actually clean the factory floors and clean the machinery. And then sometime not so long after that, I think it was 47, that Prell did this amazing commercial where this girl basically had this enormous beehive of foam on her head, and it said luxury foam. And that was the beginning of the end. So before that, before this sodium lauryl sulfate, before the sulfuric acid invention, before that, what was being used, like the Orientals used green tea, and that's how they cleaned their silk.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
For thousands of years. We're not talking 200 years. We're not talking 2,000 years. We're talking tens of thousands of years. Womankind have been very advanced and very natural. It's just in the last 100 years that we become super industrialized. So we don't want to get too involved. But the reality is that in Morocco Method, for example, we have a tea saponin that we get from China that's used to clean silk. And the Orientals have been cleaning their hair with that for thousands of years. And we get ingredients from South America, like sangre de dragon, like blood of the dragon. We did cactus. We're getting aloe vera. And these things clean the hair. So we don't foam. So a lot of people use it and they, oh my God, I'm having a difficult time. Well, we have a lot of literature on our site that explains that there's no foam. Just do it. And after, like you said, Danny, that after one shampoo, you realize my hair is really clean. How could that happen? There was no foam.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to get re-educated. And then in realizing that our hair is damaged, it's dry, or it's very oily, is because our sebaceous glands, our oil glands, are out of sync, which means it's like having our heart's out of sync. It's beating too fast or it's beating too slow. And that makes the whole part of our whole health department in trouble. It causes stress, and then it causes dis-ease. Well, the same thing with our hair care. If we're sticking sulfuric acid on our scalp every day, where is it going besides our hair? It's going down to our scalp. It's going into the roots. It's going into the growth patterns, oil glands. All right, that's bad enough. But now it's going down into the brain. It's going into the brain cells. It's going down into our crown chakra on very subtle levels. So we really want to be responsible and let people know around us how really dangerous this could be. I mean, we don't want to become alarmed, but everything is reaching an alarming point, which I think is great, because if we're not going to get the message, we have to go down far enough to get the message. So once we go far enough and our life gets threatened, then humanity is going to say, oh my God, you know, we're in global warming. The glaciers are melting in Alaska. So then we say, all right, so now what do I do? So we start off with one shampoo. We start off with, okay, so try a conditioner. And then when you see from there that everything's okay, your hair didn't fall out, then you have to realize that you're going to go through a detox program. It's the same as when you're eating. If we keep eating a lot of rich foods, that after a while we need to fast. We need to do something on a level to give our digestive system a rest.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same thing with my hair care line. It's actually designed to detox. And that means it's, first of all, it's going to strip out all of the layers of chemicals on the hair. So the hair follicle has this layering process of wax buildup and different chemicals. It's going to start stripping that off so the hair can become flat. It may not be manageable for a couple of days. It may even go on for a couple of weeks, depending on how bad your hair is how long it will go on. But once you finish the detox and you go on the other side, the very next day you say, oh my God, this is the first time I've seen healthy hair. It could be 5 years or 50 years. People are shocked that their hair, they say, I never realized my hair really was this beautiful, this luxurious, and this healthy.
Yeah, and I really want to emphasize how bad my hair was before Morrocco Method. I mean, it was literally breaking off at the ends, but not only that, it was so wiry and dry. Like, it just felt like straw. So, and especially being told I had to cut all that hair off. So switching to Morrocco Method and using the shampoo and using the different conditioners, it was shocking to see the difference. And that's something I'd like to touch on really quick as well, is the conditioners. Do you think that everyone needs conditioners, or someone like me who's trying to grow their hair out and repair damage? Or do you think they can, just use the shampoo, or do you think they're a good addition?
Well, the conditioners are also designed on the 5 elements: fire, air, earth, water, ether. And we have to realize that for tens of thousands of years, that people all over the world didn't have a store to go to and buy these products. But like, let's say you were in Hawaii, you would basically use coconut oil. If you were in the Mediterranean, you use olive oil. If you're in Africa, you may use avocados or bananas. The same as South America. People would actually take avocados and smash them all, rub them in the hair, and leave them in for a couple of days. This has been going on for thousands of years. Mm-hmm. And where did we learn to do this? How did we learn to do Tai Chi? How did we learn to do all these amazing arts? Well, humanity watched animals. This is an evolution. So millions, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, humanity watched animals of how did they take care of themselves. So like, for an example, when an elephant or a tiger got really sick, they would go down and find natural clay beds. They would roll around in this clay. Clay is a very healing ingredient. And then they would lay in the sun, and the clay would start drawing out the toxins from inside the body. And then the animal would basically go into the riverbed and wash it off. So we started realizing when we were primitive how important this was when we started getting our lives threatened from all these different diseases, of how to do these things. So I have a product called Zen Detox, which is millions of years of decomposed volcanic ash. And it's like doing a facial, but we do it to our hair and scalp. So that's a product that I really recommend people using. But to get started, it's just like, how do you start an exercise program? You don't go to the gym and start lifting 250 pounds of, weights. You break yourself. So you just go to the gym, or you just go outside and walk for a half an hour. The same thing with Morrocco Method. Try a shampoo, see the difference, add on another one. Basically, we recommend alternating, which is very important because we build immunities against anything. If we do something over and over again, if like we just ate broccoli or just ate rice and nothing else, the body would start breaking down. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with skin care, the same thing with hair care. We need to alternate. That's why 5 is basically the number the universe uses. That's why we have fire, air, earth, water, ether, so that not only humans, but all of the living earth, all the living chi, Everything has these 5 elements. And so when you do your hair care, start off with the shampoo, and then coming back to your question about conditioners, yes, we need conditioners. If you have perfect hair, you may discover that you really don't, but the ends need some kind of oil. We have Euro organic oil. We have our elixir oils. We've been doing that for thousands of years in the jungle. We certainly need to do that today because there's so much stress.
Definitely, and I love the Euro oil. What I actually do is I watch the Morrocco Method blog on how to comb your hair and really distribute the oils, and then use the Euro oil every night, and that's something that's been amazing for my hair. I love the Euro oil. So for someone like me who's trying to grow their hair out, though, is there anything beyond that you would recommend? I know the Euro oil is amazing. I use the Diamond Crystal Mist. Is there anything else you would recommend to like replenish and strengthen hair?
Yeah, we have the 5 packages, which is lengthening, strengthening, thickening, root work, and beautifying. So I don't want to get into the lunar chart yet, but we're going to go there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you want to lengthen your hair, we have packages that, so we've designed that for you. We've designed packages that say if you want to strengthen, thicken, if you really have weak roots, try this package out. And then we have all the educational literature to go along with it. You don't need to cut all your hair off, but you do need in the very beginning to see what's completely dead, what's unsalvageable, which is so dry it's like straw. And that needs to get cut. But for God's sake, do it in the lunar cycle, because for thousands of years, everything's been happening with the moon. And we suddenly, like in the industrial age, we don't have time for this. We no longer look at the lunar cycle. We no longer look at the moon when we're doing farming. So that's where Monsanto comes into the other side of the coin. They're certainly not going to do the lunar cycle. It doesn't have, economics. It doesn't have enough money involved in it to stop and do these things. But we are natural. We need to follow the lunar cycle. We need to follow the solar cycles.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been practicing the lunar hair chart, and like you said, we'll get into that in a bit. So there are packages to lengthen, strengthen. For dry ends, which one would you recommend for that?
Yeah, for shampoo, we have sea shampoo, so that's really more for dry, and apple cider vinegar, pine shale. The earth is more for oily. And then we have, so the different shampoos all have dry, oily, or normal. Mm-hmm. So if you have an extreme case of oil hair, scalp, or if you have an extreme case of damaged dry hair, then you do need to do exactly what you're suggesting, Danny, is just to do those products. But if your hair is in drastic, then you can alternate to 5. But if they're drastic and you really want to take care of these ends, then we have particular shampoos. We also have the conditioners that address this. We have the Heavenly conditioner. We have the Elixir series, which is excellent. And then, of course, as you're mentioning, the Euro Organic. Then we have the 2 sprays. The sprays are spray on, leave in, the Diamond Crystal Mist and the Volumizer Mist.
Yeah, and I love to alternate and use those. I feel like that's been one of the reasons my hair has, had such restored strength.
Very good.
Is there a time that you would suggest that people wait to grow out their hair? Is there, a time period where someone like me who's trying to grow their hair out has to wait to see significant growth?
Well, if you want to grow your hair out and it's damaged, you want to start cutting off the ends during the lunar cycle. Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us a bit more about the lunar cycle? I've been doing the blunt cuts on my own, and I think that's one of the reasons my hair is also, returned to health, and I love doing that, especially because I know, and a lot of my girlfriends have a problem with this, is going to a hairdresser and saying, okay, take an inch off, and you walk out with 4 inches of your hair cut off. So I've been loving the blunt cuts, but if you could tell us a bit more about the lunar cycle, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up also, because that's a real problem. I've had thousands and thousands of clients go to the salon and say, just cut off 1 to 2 inches, just seal off the ends, and they cut off 10 or 15 or 18 inches of hair, which is very shocking. And actually, it's invasive. It's really very crossing boundaries, and I can't imagine how the hairdresser can justify doing such a horrendous situation, but they do. So congratulations on learning to cut your own hair. So a lot of people are timid to do that. If you have long hair, we have videos to show you how to do it yourself. And then, of course, you do it during the lunar cycle. So that's really excellent way of doing it. So the lunar cycle, if you go on again on MorroccoMethod.com, there's a link for lunar hair cutting. And there's 5 different choices every month. So each month you can do lengthening or strengthening or thickening or root work or beautifying. So for example, for you with damaged hair and you want to get the ends off and maybe you want to grow your hair longer, so you want to do lengthening. So you would choose that day to cut, and then you would cut it yourself. And by using the lunar dates, there is no question, I've been doing this for the last 45 years, that it'll double or triple the lengthening. So if you grow 3 or 4 inches a year, you will grow 6 to 8 to 10 inches a year, undoubtedly, if you follow these dates. And the same thing with thickening. If people are having hair loss, hair thinning, then they really want to follow the hair strengthening, the root work dates. And then if someone has normal hair and they just really want to do something to make their hair more luxurious, we have beautifying dates. If you have straight hair, it can make your hair wave. So it's pretty phenomenal, and this has been done for a long period, for millenniums. So it's nothing that I've invented. It's just that I actually chart every year through several different charts, and then I put it on the website so people all over the world now follow the lunar hair cutting dates, which is another dimension of what really makes our hair luxuriously beautiful and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And how often would you recommend doing it? Is it once a month? Is it quarterly? Or does it differ, for different people?
Well, that's a good question. Basically, I cut my hair, I have short hair, every 4 to 6 weeks by doing the lunar cycle. I've been doing that for the last 45 years, and look at my hair at 71.
I know, it's awesome.
Thank you. And then other people are sort of timid and want to cut it once a year. Well, I say you must cut it once a season. That's the minimum. You have to do it at least 4 times a year. Even if you have 100% fabulous hair, the ends are splitting. It's just like clothes. If you don't wash your clothes for 4 months and you keep wearing them, they're going to wear out. You need to take care of, you have to be responsible. So the longer the hair, the ends need to be sealed. So following the cuts, it's like summer, fall, winter, spring. And in the lunar cycle, when you look at the dates, these are highlighted. So the full moon dates are highlighted, and the equinox and the solstice are highlighted. But I suggest for long hair, a lot of my clients will cut off like even 1/8 of an inch. Not a quarter, 1/8 of an inch. Barely, hardly anything. What that does, it shocks the roots, it shocks the growth pattern, and every time you do a lunar hair cut, it's equivalent to 12 to 18 acupuncture points.
Wow.
So if you were getting 18 acupuncture treatments, that lunar hair cutting, when you snip off, it sends a message up to the roots and the growth patterns. It's shocking. It's just like getting acupuncture.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's all very amazing, and that's why I'm so excited about what I do. And people say, what are you gonna do when you retire? And I say, well, I'm doing what I'm doing now. I just got back from Thailand. I live a fabulous life. I travel. I do what I want. There's no retirement. What do you mean retire from what? From life? You want to do this for the rest of your life until your last breath. Whatever makes you passionate gives us energy. And so what gives me energy is working with people like you every day of my life, helping people, educating people, and doing as much as possible for my community and as far outreach as I can go to make people aware of how healthy we can become and how happy our lives can be. It's a step-by-step process, and it's going to happen every day until the day we die. It's not that I'm going to retire and say, okay, now I'm healthy, now I can not bother with eating healthy. I'm happy. I don't have to be responsible for my relationships or what I'm doing in my life situations. This is a responsibility that we need to do a day by day, and that's why I suggest to people, especially in my Qigong class, is to create good habits. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing to do is breathe consciously. There's breathing exercises. That's the greatest food in the world. And then start doing a little bit of exercise to get the blood and the air pumping. So when we go into the shower, or you don't go into the shower, brush your hair, use a scalp massager. If you do these habits, then you don't have to say, I don't have time for this. Of course you
Definitely.
have time for it. When you wake up in the morning, you have time to breathe? Do you have time to eat? Yeah. So these are habits. The heart beats unconsciously. So thank God we can't fool around with it. We certainly need to be responsible for our heart. We really want to be healthy. We want it to be healthy. And for all the other parts of our body, this is the only body that we have, and I'm going to say it, basically, that all of these things that are happening today are shocking to me. How people are having hip replacements, knee replacements, all these surgeries. If you have an accident and my shoulders are destroyed, well, you may need to fix your shoulder. But there's no need to have hip replacements and knee replacements and all this wrist stuff, because a lot of people are having a lot of after effects that make it worse. And I have clients that have had 6 or 7 knee replacements, and every time it gets worse.
Yeah,
Where I
that's
just came back
terrible.
from Thailand, and in all of Asia, and all of the people get up in the morning, they go out at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, whether you're 7 or 107, and they're all exercising together. So come on, America, wake up. Let's get healthy. Let's get happy. And it
Yeah,
starts off by we need to be an example for each other. And that's why I do what I do. I really want to be example to my immediate community and to the world that we can live an amazingly great life. Let's join forces.
yeah, I completely agree. And, I think it's so interesting to visit these other cultures and see how they live and see their longevity and their health and compare it to our own. And I think that if we put more effort into it and we create healthy habits, then, that is the basis of a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, it's habits. I just got back from Thailand. I was in Chiang Mai for 3 weeks, which is the art and cultural center of all of Thailand. It may be for an enormous part of Asia. And the people there are very happy. They live a very stress-less life. And the food is one of the Asia. When you really, like when I go to Mexico or South America and I eat the food there, it's excellent. When I go to a Mexican restaurant here, I go, this isn't really fresh. This isn't that healthy. When I go to a Thai restaurant here, I go, like, how come? When I go to Thailand, the food is so healthy because they go right out that day, pick the food and bring it in. They don't bring it in for 2 days. The food is just every day. They harvest every day they harvest it. And most of the world does that. We're too synthetic. So of course, all of these things are cook. Start learning how to go to the farmers markets. Why go to a commercial store and buy dead food? Be responsible. Go to your local farmers. Support your local community. Buy the food that is from your local area. It's so important to eat local. And support your farmers, for God's sake. They get up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to pick our food and bring it to the market. And here, we're blessed in Central California. We have 16 farmers markets a week.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
even here in DC in the winter, there are still options. There are farmers markets. I'm in a buying club. I think if people put a little extra effort into buying locally and putting their money into their local economy, it doesn't just benefit that, but it benefits their health. So it's really interesting. And
Yeah, at every level, we want to support our local community, whatever we can do. And that's another reason why we don't want to retire. Retire for what? I mean, the people who are elders always did this for the community. They would do the things that the middle class, the middle-aged people don't have the time because we're still working. So the elders can help us do that. They can show us like where, what to do, where to go. So support your elderly community also. Let's unite. Let's live a healthy and happy life.
yeah, absolutely. And speaking of habits, I do want to ask you, for shampooing, do you recommend people do that twice a week, once a week? Does it differ just, time of year?
Yeah, all of that is actually true because some people shampoo every day, some people shampoo twice a day. They may go to the gym and they have to shampoo twice. Other people shampoo once every 2 weeks, so it's very individual. And it's also seasonal. Like in the summer, I shampoo my hair a lot more than I do in the winter. Fall and spring less. Summer more, winter far less. But it depends on the individual. If you're brushing your hair, we have educational videos to show you what kind of brush to use, how to brush your hair. That's a form of natural dry shampooing. So when you brush your hair naturally with a boar bristle brush, you're actually dry shampooing your hair.
Oh, that's really interesting. I actually do that every night before bed
Very good.
to distribute the oils. And I actually haven't washed my hair. I used the blonde henna on Sunday and haven't done anything to my hair since except for brush it. And it's still, you know, it's healthy, it's not greasy, so it's been awesome. But speaking of the henna, I know a lot of people have asked me and they're concerned that it's going to dry their hair out. For me, I felt like it really conditioned my hair, but for people who think or are worried about it drying their hair, what would you have to say to them?
Yeah, unfortunately, henna has a bad press, which means that a lot of the commercial peoples and all the hairdressers don't like it because they say, oh my God, henna's going to make you red, henna's going to ruin your hair, are you crazy, don't do these crazy things. But in reality, there's a lot of junk henna on the market, which is true, it's junk. It's really not good. It's they put a lot of additives in it. But if you get a really natural henna, if you go to Asia, like our henna is from India, from the growers themselves, and that's 100% conditioning. So it's a plant. And every time people do henna, your hair will, like you're saying, Danny, isn't your hair, doesn't it feel more conditioned by doing the henna process?
Yeah, I was amazed. In the shower, I was, you know, it was my first time doing it. I was a little concerned, but when I got out, you know, I easily ran my brush through the hair, and when it dried, it felt like I had done like a deep conditioning treatment. It was amazing.
And you have done a deep conditioning treatment. It's amazing because henna plant itself has been around for millenniums also, and it's very conditioning, very healing, very healthy. And you can do it yourself. We have dozens of videos and a lot of educational literature, and you can call us if you really are concerned to do a step-by-step how to proceed with it. But to start with, nothing lightens hair but chemicals. So you can get a henna to do your hair color, or you can go darker, but you're not going to go lighter. So if anyone has gray hair or white hair, which by the way is a new natural blonde, so having gray hair and white hair, you know, take in your power. Be proud that you're an elder. Be proud that you look at my hair. I'm proud of my whole body, of how healthy it is. But if you really want to color it, we have blonde henna, and that blonde henna will turn all the white and gray hair a pale blonde. It gives you a natural sun streaking effect. That's amazing. Also, you can start doing, like, we have light, medium, and dark brown. We have red, and we have black. And then we have a colorless. So if you don't want to do anything for color, you can do a colorless henna as a conditioning agent, which is excellent, really good. So don't be afraid of henna. Look at our videos. We've had tens of thousands of women say, oh my God, I'm going to do it, I'm going to try it. Men, of course, also. And after a period of time, everyone, 100% says, I will never chemically touch my hair again after doing henna. 100%. Everyone goes, you know, it's a little difficult. You do have to take the time to do it. For God's sake, what's more carcinogenic than chemicals?
And not to mention, it's so much cheaper to use the henna than go out and get this like insanely expensive chemical treatment done. So I really prefer the henna, especially for me, because in the summer my hair gets really light, and in the winter, like it is now, it naturally gets darker. So the henna really evened out my blonde hair color, and I really liked it. But for people with naturally darker hair that are going to use the henna or thinking about trying to get, you know, natural highlights or just brighten their hair a bit, does the blonde henna work for that? I know a lot of lightening products can turn darker hair kind of orange.
Yeah, so with our henna, for example, if you don't dye your hair and you want to give some lightening to it and you have gray and white hair, let's say you have medium, light, or dark brown or black hair, if you put in the blonde henna, those white and gray hairs are going to turn pale blonde. It's going to give you a lightening effect. But if you're dyeing your hair, you can't do that, obviously, because then you're going to put the dye on, and that's going to be the end of the white and gray hairs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So if no matter where you are, nothing lightens with chemicals. So as long as you have even 5 little white hairs or 5,000 of them, by doing the blonde henna, they're going to turn pale blonde. It may not happen the first time because henna coats the hair, it doesn't penetrate it. So it'd make 2 or 3 processes. But then the more you do it, the more you're going to see the blonde effect. And people love it. I mean, people go to the salon and spend $500 or $1,500 to do a sun streaking job. And all you have to do is do the pale blonde henna, and it's no one can do a finer job. For no amount of money, all of your white and gray hairs are going to turn pale blonde. It's going to be perfectly even. It's going to look like nature's done it. And of course, nature did it. It's natural.
Yeah, I remember the last time I actually went to the salon to see just the price for a highlight, and obviously this is before I started with Morrocco Method, and they told me $275. And, you know, the henna is, you know, what, about $10, and we're doing, you know, this 15% off coupon, and it's just not only a healthier option, it's just insanely cheaper. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, so that's another thing of being responsible. If you're cutting your hair yourself, you're basically saving all that money, which can go into our health. If we're, you know, taking care of our hair color ourselves and using henna, the price difference is extraordinarily different. And do it yourself. I mean, you can even get a friend to help you. You can get 2 people or 3 people at a time doing henna days or doing hair cutting days, and support each other, encourage each other. You know, share what you're learning with each other, because every one of us has something to share, no matter what it is, to a person really close to us or anywheres. And so by cutting your own hair, by doing your own henna, by being responsible with your hair care products and how to use brushing. We also have a scalp massager that's invigorating, and it gets more blood and air into the roots and grows the hair healthier. So our hands, when we're shampooing and doing things, isn't that strong. But we have 100% rubber, natural scalp massager. When you shower, I use it on my neck, I use it on my whole body. So sometimes when I'm sitting at the computer or I'm in my car, I will just start massaging my body with the rubber scalp massager. It gives a lot of blood and air circulation. But it's great for the scalp. So all these things are, like you said in the beginning, how do I start? Well, start with one shampoo, then add another one, then try a conditioner, then take a look at our sprays and conditioners, then take a look at brushing, take a look at scalp massaging. And for the Zen Detox is amazing. I actually use the Zen Detox on my whole body.
Oh, really?
So we're fortunate here in Central California. We have warm, sunny days a lot. So I do it on my hair, my scalp, my face, my chest, my whole body. And I'll go sit in the sun for maybe 5 or 15 minutes to activate it. Then I come back in. But within 20, 30, 40 minutes, it starts pulling because you can feel the detox action happening and it's drying. And you want to go and wash it off. The Zen Detox is another element you can do off and on as much as you want. Then you have the henna, the conditioning agents with the henna coloring. So every facet of hair is taken care of. There's not a person in the world who's asked me a question that we can't answer. We have the answers to everything. So please be generous and be responsible with yourself, and let us know what your concerns are. And by trusting Danny and basically following the lead and getting healthier and happier, these are the different departments that are going to change our lives and change the world around us, and certainly the future of our children and our grandchildren. This is so important. And you're going to be happy and healthy by doing it. What more fun could we have together?
Exactly. And I think, you know, when people get into this and they get into this lifestyle more and more, they realize how much better they feel, how much more fun it is, and how much happier they are. So, you know, it's just, you got to start, and you can take small steps. You can, you know, like you said, start with the different shampoos and conditioners, but just start. It's so awesome. It's so much better.
Yeah, just start from the very kindergarten stages. Like, I'm really, like in my Qigong classes, I teach my students, you know, not to be fanatic. And what that means is if you start anything fanatically, you may start wanting to do hours of Qigong, and then after a week you become like burnt out. It's the same thing of anything. It's the same thing as eating. So with our diet, for example, you know, I teach people to like listen to your body. Like if I start craving meat, for example, I don't go and get a piece of meat and eat it. No, I may wait weeks or even months because I only eat meat maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And fish the same way, and anything else. But that's me. I'm 71, and my health levels on a 1 to 10 are 9 to 10, 10 being the highest. I live at a 9 to 10 all the time. And if I'm at 7 and 8, I'm really concerned, what did I do today that destroyed my energy level? What, did something physically happen, mentally happen, emotionally happen? Did I eat something? Yeah. I went out to a restaurant that I trusted. I had this meal, and then my stomach bloated, and now the next day I feel tired. So by paying attention to what we're doing is very, really important. So with food, I'm suggesting to people, just do what your body craves, not what you think about. If you think you want a piece of fish, or if you think you want a raw salad, ask your body permission. Is this really what I want? And then if the craving builds and builds and builds, then it's like, yes, this is like, my last example will be, I have a friend who doesn't smoke, and she's vegan, and she's in her 50s, and she started wanting a cigarette, and she got alarmed and said, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And that went on for months, and then finally she had a dream, and the dream, she was smoking this cigarette. So we talked about it, and I said, Linda, the American Indians did this. It's not that you're going to become a chain smoker or a fiend. It's a tobacco. It's a natural herb. Maybe there's something in your body that's craving this herb. So Linda did a huge meditation, and then she basically did a ritual, and then she got a cigarette. And she did a ritual, she smoked a cigarette, and that was the end of it, and she never smoked again. So what I'm saying as an example is, listen to our body. If it's craving nature, if it's craving something natural, we're not saying it's craving Twinkies, God, or heroin, no. We're talking about our health. We're talking, if you're really craving something that's growing on the planet and you feel like it's getting bigger and bigger, then listen to your body. Don't discount it with our thoughts and say, no, I don't do that. Well, it's the same thing. We have 5 senses, and our greatest sense is our sixth sense, and our sixth sense is what we should be educating, and it's down in below the belly button. It's in the dantian. And when you start having this sixth sense activate, then you really start listening to what the universe is telling us, and your life will become very powerful.
Yes, and I, echo all of that. It's so important to be intuitive and listen to what your body's telling you. So I definitely encourage everyone to do that. And also, before we end this, I want to just let everyone know, you guys have the Morrocco Method blogs, the Morrocco Method YouTube. You guys just have so much valuable research and tools and tips and training that you offer everyone, and it's free. So if you have anything to add, or a website, that would be awesome for the readers.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us on, and Morrocco Method is here to serve you. And our website is educational, and we have hundreds of videos and an enormous amount of educational literature. We've gone paperless, so we really encourage people to go online and read it there, or do whatever you like with it. But the videos, we have hundreds of videos to educate you on every possible imaginable thing with hair care. And we really want everyone to be as healthy as possible. So take the first step, try it, and let us know, let Danny know how it's going, and we support you in every way imaginable. We keep you in our prayers. We want humanity to become very healthy and happy, and we want this generation to be really strong and powerful as it used to be. We want to come back to our roots.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for this webinar. It's been incredibly informative. I'm so excited to share it with all the Ancestral Nutrition readers.
Okay, very awesome. Us also, we're very blessed to be here and happy to have a great staff at Morrocco Method. I'm really grateful for everyone that works here and is blessed to be healthy and happy also.
Awesome. Well, thank you again.